You wake up to another day spent in the dungeon. You've lost count of how many days you spent down here. Whatever life you had on the outside is long gone. Quite simply, you do not exist anymore. You are nobody. As far as you're concerned, that will always be the case until your eventual, uneventful death. Suddenly, your cell door opens, and some guards, along with the great Emperor Auriel's Septim, enter. Not only are you being spared, the Emperor sees an important future for you. He saw it in his dreams. A secret tunnel opens. The guards tell you not to follow, but the opportunity to escape is too great. You traverse the tunnel, finding various weapons and loot along the way. Eventually, you are reunited with the Emperor, and discover an assassination plot against him. You helped fend off the assassins, and the Emperor lets you tag along with the group. However, things are far from over, and you're given some important information. The Emperor, telling you that he is destined to die here, hands over an amulet to you and orders you to take it to a man named Joffrey. It's a lot of information to take in, having just escaped prison, but you understand and accept the request. Suddenly, an assassin pops out of the shadows and kills the Emperor in cold blood. You fend off the remaining assassins, but it's too late. The Emperor is dead. With the Emperor's final request, you escape the underground tunnels and emerge into Cyrodiil for the first time in a long while. With a gaze at the world around you, you taste freedom again. You remember the Emperor's request, and now you must proceed with it. Although, you know there's nothing stopping you from going in any other direction. You don't remember anything about your old life, but now is the opportunity to start a new one. After all, Auriel never specified when the amulet had to reach Joffrey. Maybe I'll head in another direction and see what's there. Even the game prompts you about the possibility of just exploring the world. And of course... Okay, let's hold up for a minute. It was the intro and tutorial section for the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion Remastered. Back in 2006, Bethesda released the original game to widespread acclaim. While I do get a lot of criticism these days for that type of game design, back then it was considered revolutionary in terms of open-world RPGs, and gamers agreed as it sold millions of copies. Hence why so many people were excited about the remaster. Personally, I was too young at the time to appreciate it, and only sampled the tutorial section about 10 years ago, so I have no nostalgia for this game. My only Bethesda experience before this game was Skyrim, which I got the Platinum for in 2019. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm hoping Oblivion will provide a good ride too. I also decided to approach it differently compared to other games in that I wouldn't rush it. I treated it more like a slow burn over the course of 6 months. I hadn't done this with the game for years, and I wanted to try doing it again to see how it would affect my enjoyment. It was the game between games for me. My only goal was to get the Platinum trophy by the end of the year. Apart from that, it was all about sitting back, taking my time, and immersing myself in the world of Cyrodiil. Oblivion has 61 trophies, including the Platinum. The trophies can be broken down into the following categories: main story trophies, guild questline trophies. The 4 guilds in the question are Thieves, Fighters, Mages, and the Dark Brotherhood, and complete the arena questline. Additionally, there are 10 trophies for completing the main story of the Shivering Isles DLC 2, which I will also be completing for this video. I have to be honest, I'm disappointed with this trophy list, mostly due to the fact that these trophies only cover about 20% of the game's content. In my opinion, a good trophy list will encourage you to check out the majority of it, if not all of what the game has to offer. This one doesn't. If you plan on solely chasing the Platinum, most guides put it at about 30 hours. Considering that this game boasts over 100 hours worth of content, it devalues the Platinum trophy in my opinion. At least in games like Skyrim, there are trophies connected to other side quests and leveling up. But as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't planning on solely chasing the Platinum, so I'll be checking out the additional content anyway. Now that I've said my piece about the trophy list, let's get into this.
It's nice to have you back.
Completing that tutorial section from earlier and making it into the open world actually popped our first trophy. So now I was in it for the long haul. Since the game outright tells you to do what you want, I decided just to explore the world. I went into the Imperial City as I figured it would be a good place to find some side content as well as information about particular guilds. Lo and behold, I hear some information relating to the Thieves Guild and the Waterfront District. After gathering further information, it's revealed that you can only find the informant for the Thieves Guild at night, so I went to an inn situated on a boat to rest until then. That was until I ended up in one of the most random side quests of the game. While I was sleeping on the boat, it had been hijacked by bandits, and I had to help kill them and retake it. It's honestly one of the more interesting side quests due to how random it is. It's moments like these that make an open world interesting, as anything could happen. After completing that quest, I decided to stop for the day, and that was all I did in June. Before you judge, I did start this game on the 29th of June, so not much would have been done anyway.
No, they won't find.
Coming back in July, I do a bit more exploring, including the initiation into the Thieves Guild, which of course involved stealing. While someone else actually got the initial item first, I just went into her house and robbed her instead. Handing it over to the Thieves Guild informant later would be enough for me to join and pop our first trophy.
First, never steal from another member of the guild.
I was also tasked with assignments which pretty much involve stealing from other people. The process is pretty straightforward for the next several ranks by doing this. The only difference will be that as we increase in rank, we'll have to steal more valuable items, but I'll get to those soon. After joining the Thieves Guild, I initially explored the Imperial City further and came across the arena. I knew I had to complete quest lines for this section for a bunch of trophies, so I went inside to see what it's about. After intense interaction with my least favourite character in the game, I signed up to become a combatant and popped the first arena trophy. Simple as that.
Or a heavy rim. Here, wear it proudly.
I fought a couple of battles before leaving. Exploring further, I came across the Mages Guild. I joined the guild and popped the first trophy for that guild.
To you.
However, in order to advance further up the ranks, I would need to gain recommendations from all the guild halls across Cyrodiil, so it would be a while before I would see any more trophies for the Mages Guild. On the bright side, getting these recommendations was the perfect excuse to explore the whole map. After doing what I felt I could in the Imperial City, I left and hit the roads of Cyrodiil. I wasn't going in any intended direction, I was simply taking my time and exploring. I also made the decision not to fast travel to places that I hadn't already been to, even though the game does give you the option to fast travel straight away. I wasn't just focusing on quests relating to trophies either. I wanted to see as much as possible, which meant I did a lot of other side quests as well. A few of them are just as interesting as the guild quest lines in my opinion. A bit later on, I ended up completing a couple of Thieves Guild jobs. Returning back rewarded me with a rank increase and another trophy for doing so.
Rank. I do have...
Shortly after, I returned to the arena and won another fight. Returning to Owen gave me a rank increase to Brawler, and another trophy was obtained.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're no longer a pit dog. That's right. You've
One of the guilds that I hadn't mentioned yet was the Fighters Guild. That's because you can't sign up to it in the Imperial City. You can only do that in one of a few cities. Eventually, I did reach one of those guild halls. All I had to do was go up and talk to one of the leaders to join, and the first Fighters Guild trophy was mine.
to you. Knowledge is power.
While I was exploring, I came across Kvatch, a city under siege by an Oblivion gate. I didn't know it at the time, but it was the next key moment of the story. Anyway, I offered help to the citizens of Kvatch. To do this, I needed to close the Oblivion gate from inside, which is very much a hellscape. I did take my time with this one to take in the atmosphere and understand the Oblivion plane better. Eventually, I ascended the tower and removed the sigil stone, which in turn closed the Oblivion gate. But I was not done, as we still had to retake Kvatch from the remaining enemy forces, which we of course do. Completing this mission actually popped the second story trophy for closing an Oblivion gate, which was a nice surprise. At least it would save me some hassle later. At this point, my intention was to save the story trophies for last, as it felt only right the longer I played this game. July was definitely a productive month in the world of Oblivion. I did play a little bit of Oblivion in August, however, I didn't pop any trophies during that time, and nothing else of event happened. However, September is a whole different story. I had reached the 30-hour mark by then, so I wanted to complete one of the quest lines for a sense of progress with the trophies. I decided to prioritize finishing the arena first, as it was the most straightforward to do. Simply go to the arena, talk to Owen, and go up and begin your fight. The fights themselves aren't too bad, especially with many of my skills leveled up by then. Most of them are one-on-one with a few multi-man opponents to spice things up. In quick succession, I advanced up 6 more ranks in the arena, all the way to champion.
Good work. There are a few. By defeating that.
That just left one more fight against the Grand Champion, the Grey Prince. The 2 best fighters in the arena were going head to head. Or at least that was the initial idea. Earlier on in the game, you can actually complete a side quest for him. It involves going to a dungeon on the other side of the map in search of his father. In there, we find the shocking truth that his father in question was actually a vampire. And when we tell him this, it breaks him that he is half vampire. As a result, when we do fight each other, he refuses to fight and asks us just to kill him to put him out of his misery. We do just that and become the new Grand Champion of the arena and pop the final trophy for this questline. I was at 36 hours of playtime by then. With a sense of progress on the trophies, I decided to continue exploring with no main priority. I would come across random side quests and see what stories I discovered there. I encountered enemies I hadn't fought. I would be wandering in the wilderness and find a dungeon. My main incentive would be to go inside and see what secrets it held. Probably the most eventful side quest I had discovered so far involved finding all the shrines across Cyrodiil, which eventually leads to another quest in finding all the pieces of weapons and armor linked to it. Honestly, that side quest felt like it should have had some trophies tied to it as well. Do you see what I mean when I feel that the trophy list could have been put together with a bigger picture in mind? You'll miss out on some of the game's best content. There was also a bit of a drawback to playing this way. Because I was spending additional time elsewhere, I was also leveling up my individual skills as well. I know there is difficulty scaling in this game, but it could just be me, but there were times where I felt very overpowered, especially in the second half of my playthrough, as I would just run through most enemies without much resistance. On one hand, it's a good feeling to be living in a power fantasy. On the other hand, it eliminated a lot of the challenge this game initially had. This does potentially lead to concentration issues if you don't have to think as much, but it was never a deal breaker. Anyway, back to the trophies. During my time exploring for the next 10 hours, I would often rotate between the fighters, thieves, and mage guilds and their quest lines, depending on where missions would take me. The guild I made the most progress in was the Fighters Guild. The guild quests mostly involve having to do various jobs that were assigned to the guild.
Good luck.
Little proudly.
Good work.
Of the Fighters Guild.
Guild.
Fighters Guild.
As the storyline progresses, a rival group called the Blackwood Company comes into the picture. They build a reputation for themselves and start stealing work from the Fighters Guild. Even a few members from the guild decide to leave in order to join the Blackwood Company. There were rumors that the company was engaging in suspicious practices due to how strong and efficient they always were. It gets bad enough for the Fighters Guild to the point where I'm assigned to infiltrate the Blackwood Company to find out what's really going on there. I do, and discover the source of their power, hist sap. With all the necessary information discovered, my last assignment was to go back to the Blackwood Company, kill everyone inside, and destroy the source of the hist sap. When I reported back to the Fighters Guild, the quest was completed and the final trophy for this guild popped. I have to be honest, I thought the final few missions were a bit underwhelming. Most of the guild trophies were there for just doing various jobs. The Blackwood Company doesn't become a major factor until quite late into the quest line, and in the end, the blow-off was just that mission, which felt very anticlimactic. Anyway, trophy progress is made, so it wasn't too bad. This was about 48 hours into the game. During my exploration of Cyrodiil, I went into every city and got recommendations from all of the mage guilds. This meant I was able to return to the main building and advance ranks in the guild.
With pride. Congratulations. Thanks. The council chamber. Powerful spell.
The main story of this guild focused on the return and the rise of necromancy, which we needed to put a stop to. This was the most forgettable guild questline for me, which is a bit disappointing given that a plot focused on necromancy is a cool premise. Like the Fighters Guild, we are initially tasked with doing various odd jobs, but as I increased in rank, I was given more missions related to the necromancy affair, and things take a notably dark turn when the necromancers tried to burn down the Mages Guild in Bruma. Since there is only a specific way to defeat the head of the necromancers, the head of the Mages Guild sacrifices himself to fill a soul gem required. I went to the Echo Cave for the final confrontation, where we just defeated the guy behind it all, and that was that. I returned to the Mages Guild and I made the new Archmage, which unlocked the final trophy for this questline.
Hello.
What's new with you?
I finished the Mages Guild questline on the 29th of September, but with 3 main questlines related to trophies down, I was making some good work. I did play a little bit of Oblivion in October, but that month was dominated by Silksong on my end. I also didn't unlock any further trophies during that time, so I decided to jump straight into November for this video. Over 50 hours in now, and I wanted to wrap up the Thieves Guild next. I mentioned earlier that I had made some progress in the questline in September, which mostly involved stealing things. This of course unlocked some trophies in the process.
Rank.
New fence.
Congratulations. Fence.
However, as you rise up the ranks, you come into direct contact with the leader of the guild, the Grey Fox. He asks you to complete even more high-risk ventures for his ultimate plan. I've always found the Thieves Guild to be one of the more interesting guilds, and Oblivion is no exception. In order to get higher ranked missions, you actually need to steal more items to sell to prove your worth as a thief. So you actually need to utilize skills like sneak and lockpicking, which directly tie into the Thieves Guild. During the final few ranks in the guild, we acquired the final items needed for the Grey Fox's ultimate plan, that being to steal an Elder Scroll. This is the final mission in the game and is only one that has a missable trophy, although this trophy is only missable if you fail the mission. It involved an elaborate plan to sneak through the sewers and into the archives where we could get the scroll from the Silent Monks. At this point, both my sneak and lockpicking skills were very high, which meant I got the end without any issues. Afterwards, I saw the resolution of this storyline resulting in me becoming the Grey Fox. And of course, the final Thieves Guild trophy popped. Next up was the guild that I had intentionally saved for last. That being the Dark Brotherhood. It's always been my favourite guild, and Oblivion is no exception to that. Not just because we get to play as a murderer, but also because this guild normally has some of the most exciting missions, so I wanted to save the best for last. We start this questline by killing an innocent person, which results in the notification saying that dark forces have noticed us. When I next head to sleep, I'm awoken by the representative from the Dark Brotherhood, who gives me the option to join.
You sleep rather soundly for a murderer. That's good. You'll need a clear conscience for what I'm about to propose.
But only by killing a specific person. We do so and return to the rep, whose name is Lucien, and it's here we officially join the Dark Brotherhood, which of course unlocks us another trophy.
Family.
I spent the next few hours completing missions with the Dark Brotherhood and increasing my rank. Doing this causes us to obtain more trophies.
Which will begin.
You are like a... So, the axe
Begun.
You are like... Ah!
Adamus...
This questline actually has my favourite mission in the game, Whodunit. Here, we're locked in a house with the promise of finding gold along with 5 other people. We must systematically kill all of the other participants without being caught. Part of the appeal is that you can manipulate the others into believing someone else is the killer right up until the end. It's pretty hilarious actually, and intriguing. Anyway, I completed this mission, but I wanted to highlight how fun it can actually be. The main storyline around the Dark Brotherhood consists of finding a traitor within the ranks, as members seem to be getting killed with knowledge only a member of the Brotherhood would know. This leads us across all of Cyrodiil and involves some interesting twists, which even includes killing members of our own guild hall. During one of our missions where we kill another target, we're approached by Lucien, who informs us that the targets are wrong. Someone has been targeting other members of the guild and Lucien has been blamed for it. We need to find the real perpetrator before Lucien faces the dire consequences, but are ultimately too late. Believing that we found the killer, the remaining members invoke the Night Mother, who informs us the real traitor lives. The traitor finally reveals himself and we slay him. The Night Mother thanks us and rewards us by making us the leader of the Dark Brotherhood. After completing the final mission, the Dark Brotherhood trophy unlocks. November was definitely a productive time. Winter was officially here, and I was over 60 hours into Oblivion at this point. In the base game, all that remained were the main story trophies. However, I wanted to get 100% of the trophies, so after wrapping up the Dark Brotherhood and aware that the year was almost over, I decided to tackle the Shivering Isles DLC. While it's not required for the Platinum trophies, there are normal trophies tied to this additional content, namely beating the main questline. I entered the portal and began my journey there. Not long into it, I popped my first trophy. To progress the main story, you need to join and rise up in the rank of the Court of Madness, where everything is not as it seems even by Elder Scrolls standards.
Go!
The main story while ranking up is to stop the upcoming Grey March that will destroy the Shivering Isles if nothing is done. To do this, we're sent by the game to complete various tasks while rising in rank. I should point out that there is one missable trophy in this DLC. It involves a decision about 2/3 into the story. Underneath the Mad God, there are two dukes, one of dementia and one of mania. You'll get to know them better through quests. Eventually, you'll have to choose one to kill, so you can take their place as ordered by the Mad God. Either choice has a trophy tied to it, and if you don't create a backup save, you'll have to play through the entire base game and DLC again. So keep that in mind. I did the Mania trophy first, before reloading and permanently becoming the Duke of Dementia for the rest of the story. Inevitably, I popped both trophies doing this.
Sure they can't.
I completed the rest of the story and officially became the new Mad King of the Shivering Isles in a pretty underwhelming boss fight. I guess the difficulty imbalances are common here too.
Speed.
The Shivering Isles was one of my favourite parts of the game due to its unconventional premise. This shake-up was exactly what I needed this long into the game already, and I'm glad I did it. In the main game, all that remained was the main story. After going back to Kvatch from earlier, we needed to find Martin, who is the last remaining heir of the Emperor and must take his place. We do this, and with the help of the Blades, we shelter and prepare him for his duties. The main villains for the most part are the Mythic Dawn, a group of cultists trying to summon Dagon, a being of unimaginable power, to Cyrodiil. They've also been the ones helping to open Oblivion gates to let creatures in. Once Martin is in the Blades company, a lot of the missions task us with retrieving particular items for him. We also needed to infiltrate the Mythic Dawn to retrieve the Amulet of Kings so Martin can fulfill his purpose. Unfortunately, we are unable to do this as the amulet is taken to another realm. In the end, we agree with Martin that I must travel to this new realm to bring the amulet back. Certain items are required, while some of them are tedious, others are quite interesting. One of them being to recruit soldiers from other cities to help fend off fiends from a great Oblivion gate, so I can acquire the great sigil stone inside of it. After finally bringing the necessary items, Martin opens a portal that sends us to Paradise. We scale it and fight the leaders of the Mythic Dawn, and finally reclaim the Amulet of Kings. We escape and return the amulet to Martin. I think at this point it's obvious that Martin seems to be a bigger focus in the main story than our own character. It's how I felt anyway the longer I progressed the main questline. I felt like a side character who did all the work for the main hero. It's a little annoying, but it can be intriguing to play from a side character's perspective if it's done well. It's nowhere near a deal breaker for Oblivion. After all that, we head back to the Imperial capital for the final showdown. We fight the forces of Oblivion, but it's too late. Dagon has been summoned to our world. Left with no other choice, Martin knows that he has to sacrifice himself to save all of Cyrodiil.
I do what I must do. I cannot stay to rebuild Tamriel. That task falls to others. Farewell. You've been a good friend in the short time that I've known you, but now I must go.
We say our goodbyes to him and he transforms into a dragon, where he valiantly defeats Dagon before turning into a statue for all time for his efforts. Another cutscene plays, then the trophy pops, the platinum pops, and after 80 hours and 6 months later, my journey is over.
I go gladly, for I know my sacrifice is not in vain. I take my place with my father, and my father's fathers.
After all of that, was Oblivion worth it, and was it worth playing as a slow burn? The answer to the first question is a definite yes. This game shows its age in places, but it holds up for the most part and has undeniable charm. While I mentioned that the Platinum Trophy was a little bit disappointing given the lack of content required to complete, it is worth getting given how easy it is to obtain. And finally, playing as a slow burn has both advantages and disadvantages. On one hand, you have to constantly remind yourself about what's happening in between months of playing other games. On the other hand, the game never feels stale because you're not hanging around it for too long. Oblivion's game design also lends itself to this type of playthrough. In my opinion, it might just be the ultimate slow burn game, and absolutely worth your time. Thank you for watching, you absolute legends, and good luck on your gaming journey. Be sure to like and subscribe.